Last week we looked at how to get more out of your town planner when it comes to answering the question, do I need a DA? More in terms of like the timeliness of the feedback, the accuracy of the feedback, and just in general, making sure you don't get wishy-washy feedback that you can't act on or do anything with. Now, this week I thought I'd kind of continue that theme, let's just say, and I want to give you another tip on how to work with us town planners, us weird and wonderful town planners. At least a tip on how I think you should be working with town planners. Now, that tip, quite simply, is to communicate the priority and to ask them if anything can be done to help achieve that priority. So as we know, when it comes to a job, there is always three key priorities. We've got time, cost, and design, and they can run any which order and be at different levels. So you might turn around and just say, hey, when it comes to this project, time, it is up there. It's the number one thing because the client's got a builder locked in. They're ready to start next week. Like if we can't hit the ground running next week, we've got big problems. As a result, the client's prepared to spend a little bit more money and potentially tweak the design to get things happening. Or you might sit there and say, and this is really rare these days given the cost of construction, but you might sit there and say, hey, look, they just don't want to pay another 5 or 6 grand, whatever it is for the town planning application. Money is just so tight. And I say it's rare these days because what do you get for $500,000 a carport these days? Obviously, I'm joking. But what I'm trying to say here is basically when you start to look at spending millions of dollars on a renovation, 5 to 6 grand, most of the time these days, people are just like, oh, yeah, it's another cost, throw it in there. But every now and then you do get something that you're like, okay, yes, this is a big factor to consider. So let's say, for example, they're doing, I'm looking around me for inspiration at the moment, carport out the front of the house, or a little shed in the backyard, or a pool, or they're just about to have a baby and they just need an extra nursery room. It's just a small room. They just need something to sort of like it's a stopgap or something like that. For those people, yes, price is a consideration. So you might go, hey, in this instance, cost. We've got to keep these costs down. Or you might sit there and go, no, for this job, design. Like this client has been spending like 5 years hunting for the right site for their dream house. We've been working with them for like 2 years to try and come up with this beautiful design. They are not in a rush. They're prepared to spend some money to get what they want. So yeah, the priorities can run in different orders. They could be in the middle in an equal sort of balance, or they could be totally spread apart. Now, as a town planner, I have a lot of different levers that I can pull depending on what the priority is. So, for example, if you turn around and say time is the number one priority, I might sit there and go, okay, what can we do to avoid a DA being a town planning application? Or what can we do to potentially qualify for Risk Smart, the fast track process? It could be something really small. Like I could turn around and go, yo, those carport posts, just nudge them in a little bit. Keep the roof where it is, but nudge those posts in 10 centimeters. Suddenly you trigger the exemptions or you qualify for the exemptions. Happy days, bypass town planning. Everyone goes on their merry way. Or another time example, if you turn around, I might go, are you prepared to stage the application? So I could sit here and go, okay, if you've got the builder on site ready to go tomorrow, let's look at what you can do under the exemptions, what you can do now without needing town planning approval. And then let's get that ball rolling with the certifier and then lodge the DA, the town planning application, run it concurrently, then go modify the BA, the building approval to get the extra work in. Like there's a lot of factors to consider in that sort of stuff when it comes to staging and overlapping those approval processes. But it can be done. So yeah, if time's a concern, is that an option for us here type thing? Or if you talk about cost to me, again, I'm thinking, okay, can we avoid a DA? Fast tracking our fees are less for a fast track application because we don't need to do that negotiation with council. So okay, can we do something that qualifies for fast track to save you some money on our fees? Or can you get neighbours support or something, which again means less work in terms of justifying the proposal for us or negotiating with council and therefore reduced fees? Or if it comes to design, I'm sitting there going, oh, okay, in that case, I want some, let's say, for example, it's a height situation. I want some sun shadow diagrams comparing the as of right tick box alternative to the proposed alternative. So we can work out, is there any additional shadows being done here or created here? I want some mass modeling diagrams. So I want to see what the alternatives are. So if we can't get that extra height and fit that extra room up on top, where else are we going to stick it? Well, we're going to stick it out the back and suddenly it's going to extend the building length, create overlooking issues to the neighbour's backyard in terms of the pool or something like that. Like we can weave some weird and wonderful stories here if we have those mass model diagrams. Or what's something else? Neighbour support's a real common one. Basic or streetscape diagrams, that's another one we can turn around. I don't like to ask for those because I know designers out there are just like, that is a pain in my backside. Pain because it's just so hard to get the images looking accurate without proper survey information and all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, there is a lot of stuff. If you're prepared to spend extra money and time going through the town planning process and doing it, I wouldn't say doing it right, that's not the right way to describe it, but putting a bit more effort into it, to try and get the outcome you want from a design perspective, then yes, we can go down that path. Now, you're probably sitting there thinking, why don't you just rattle off all of this stuff just normally? I sometimes do and I sometimes don't. And it depends on how obvious it is. Like if I'm looking at a proposal and you are literally 10 centimeters extra or 10 centimeters too close to the boundary, and that is the difference between a full DA and no DA, I'm going to point it out to you. Like I'm going to turn around and go, hey guys, can I just check why are the posts here? Is there an opportunity to step them in? Because you might save like $5 or $6 grand and you might save 2 or 3 months in council, but it's not always obvious. So I've had so many situations recently where I've looked at a proposed set of plans and I've gone, oh, there's a whole heap of triggers here. Like 3/4 of the renovation triggers an application, and if they would avoid it, they'd need to cut out at least half the design and make all of these changes. They're not going to want to do this. So I launched straight into, okay, you're going to need an application. Here's what we can do to increase the chance of success, etc., etc., as opposed to here's what you need to do to avoid a town planning application. And in those situations, clients come back to me and they've just been like, oh, so we should have told you, builder's ready to start next week. Client actually doesn't think they're going to do all of this second stage, or we've kind of grouped it into 2 stages. They don't think they're going to do this component of work. Does that change anything? And I'm like, does it change anything? Yes, it changes things. I'm like, okay, in that case, all of those triggers disappear. We've just got to tweak this or change this or move this from stage 1 to stage 2. Totally different conversation. So I'm not always going to, if it's not obvious, I'm not going to waste my time, your time in terms of reading my response, going through all of the different variables. I'm just going to go with the path that I presume is going to be the most logical. But yeah, if it's not the most logical, you might want to point it out to your town planner. So hopefully the moral of the story that you're getting here is, if when you're talking to your town planner, you can say, hey, just a heads up, acknowledge you haven't been on the design journey to date. I want to give you some bit of insight here and say time is the biggest concern because of X, Y, Z, or design is the thing. And the client's prepared to spend the time and money on the design, etc., etc. And then it gives the town, and then building on that, you should say, and can you give me any feedback as to how we could better achieve that sort of priority? Then if you say that to me, I just go, okay, zoing, I know which direction I'm running in. It's going to stop me from putting it on the too hard basket. If there's too many variables to consider, I'm naturally not going to be able to squeeze it in between meetings. And I'm going to go, I'll get to that when I have a day in the office type thing. It might be tomorrow, it might be a couple of days' time. So if you can narrow my focus, it stops me from pushing it down the priority list. It saves me time because I'm not going to sit there and go through all of the different options for you. It saves you time because you're not reading all of the options, and avoids the risk of me as a town planner going down the wrong pathway. Like I said, in the scenario where people want to stage it to be able to speed things up, we went down the wrong path, had to come back, it wasted time, all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, there's my little tip for this week. As I always like to say, until next time, thanks for watching.
For all you red tape lovers out there, I have one thing to say. Well, no, actually, I've got 3. Number 1, the advice provided in these videos is general in nature. It's not site-specific. You would be a silly Billy to go and make financial decisions based on this advice without first checking with the town planner. Don't be a silly Billy. Number 2, Brisbane town planning is in no way linked to Brisbane City Council. The views expressed in these videos are my own, not council's. So if you don't like them, blame me, not council. Number 3, what was my number 3? Oh yeah, the views expressed in these videos are accurate at the time of recording. If you're watching this video back 10 years from now, the views may not be so accurate. That's all. Bye.